Hi, welcome to yet another episode of PhotoshopLightroomTV. I'm your host, Marek Mularczyk from SciTrains.UK, and this is another week, another episode of PhotoshopLightroomTV, your weekly video podcast about anything Photoshop, Lightroom, photography, and a bit of technology as well. Now, if you remember, I've got a blog, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, where you can follow me, where you can find all the latest tips, tricks and techniques. I'm posting daily, Monday to Friday, and I'm pointing you to great resources as well. I'm pointing you to great videos, great tutorials, articles online. So make it a bookmark in your web browser, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk. Make it a daily visit, Monday to Friday. Okay, now let's start with our first video tutorial, and in this first tutorial I'm going to talk about using Bridge to create PDFs, and I'll be talking about watermarks because watermarks feature has been greatly improved and changed in CS5. So Adobe Bridge CS5 has loads of new features, and I'll be using Adobe Bridge CS5. So let's jump into Bridge. To create contact sheets in Adobe Bridge CS4 and CS5, because this is also a new feature in CS4, you use the output module here. So I'm going to click on the output module, or you could also use a keyboard shortcut, Control F4 or Command F4 on a Mac. Now I need to select all the images here, so I'll just select one and I'll press Control A on Windows or Command A on a Mac. So all the images are highlighted. Now on the right hand side in the output module you've got two options here, PDF or web gallery. So let's set it to a PDF. Now the next part is the template. For the contact sheet I'll use 4x5 contact sheet. So this will be 4 times 5, 20 images. That was enough. I've got 19 images here. And I'll quickly create a refresh preview to refresh the preview of the images here. So it will show me quickly a preview. Now your preview may look slightly different because someone may have played with the settings. So don't worry about that, we're going to customize that. Okay, that looks good. Now the way the output module has been created and organized is it's all in logical order. You start on the top and then you move towards the bottom. So the first section is the document section. Page preset. This will primarily depend on what you're going to do with this contact sheet. Are you going to email it or are you going to print it? Now if you're going to print it for a client, you would use a resolution of 150 ppi. That's the resolution used for contact sheets when they print it. If you're going to email it to someone, that's what we do very commonly nowadays, you probably change the preset to web. This will change the quality automatically to 72. 72 is the default resolution for the web. And the size will primarily depend on the size of the screen, right? So it depends on this resolution of the devices that are being used to preview your contact sheet. Okay. So you need to decide whether you want to keep it a portrait or horizontal or landscape. And then you decide on the quality. I'm going to keep it portrait. For the resolution, I'll make that a bit bigger, 800 by 600. Quality 72 ppi, or resolution actually, not quality. Quality is 70, maybe 75. I'll just type in 75. Background color, I'll keep it white, even though you could use any background color you want. Now the password, no, I'll just give a layout, 4 columns and 5 rows. That's fine because we've got 19 images here. But I'm going to increase some spaces, some margins here. So I'm going to increase a margin on the top. Let's say maybe 30 pixels and 30 pixels on the bottom. Let's do the same on the left and right. Increasing the margin will also decrease the size of the thumbnails, just adding more spaces. Oh, I need to change it to portrait here, so I'll just click on the portrait and do a refresh preview once again. Okay, looks good. Vertical, horizontal, I'll just leave that. Overlays, file name, good idea if you're going to send it to a client for example. So I may want to leave the file name and extension, and I'm going to change the font from Arial to something different. Let's see, I'll use Gabriola, and I'll make it a bit bigger. Maybe, yeah, regular is fine, and I'll just click refresh preview. Notice that the refresh preview button is available here all the time. It doesn't change. This looks good. Page number, no, because we only have one page. The header might be a good idea, especially in case of a contact sheet. I'll put it in the center, and this one would be, let's say, Britain, because I've got images from Cornwall and Southern-on-Sea here as well. So the Britain 2010, let's say. Right, for the font, I'll use the same font, so I'll use Gabriola as well. I'll make it much bigger, so I'll do 18, maybe even 20, and I'll hit refresh preview. Okay, what I need to do, I need to change the header distance. It has to be at least 20. So we'll do here 20. Now click refresh preview once again. Let's see what it looks like. Looks good. Britain 2010. Looks good. Footer. Yeah, why not? I'm going to add a footer also in the center, and I'm actually going to add some copyright information here. So we'll do 2011 Marek Mularczyk photography, and all rights reserved. Arial should be fine. I'll just refresh the preview to see what it looks like. Maybe I'll change the color to gray, not just black, something like that, so it's not that visible on the page. It shouldn't be distracting, and you may want to make it slightly smaller, and we can add a divider here as well. Going to add one divider in black, and I'll refresh the preview once again. Looks good. Playback, no, nothing here, because we're not going to play it as a slideshow. And then we have the watermark section. There's loads of options here that are new in Bridge CS5. First of all, I'm going to add a watermark. Now in Bridge CS5, watermark will appear on every single image. Place on each image. This is a new feature in CS5, and you can use either text or image. In this case, I'm going to use an image, and I'm going to click on here to navigate to the image. Let's see what I could use. If I go to my documents and I do, let's see, something here. I'll just use the logo with details. I'll click refresh preview to see what it looks like, and then I'll start customizing it. Whoa, that's too big. So let's scale it down. Let's see, maybe about 37%. Still a bit too big. Like 25% as semi-transparent. So I'll lower the transparency so to about 30-40%. Starts looking good, maybe even more semi-transparent. And again, just click refresh preview, maybe even more. Okay, 20 is fine. And that's our contact sheet. The last step is to save it. You can also check view PDF after save. So I'm going to click save. I'm going to save it on my desktop. I'll give it a name, so I'll call that contact sheet, and just hit save. And in just a few seconds, Bridge is going to create a contact sheet. And that's how you create contact sheets within Adobe Bridge CS5. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Bridge. Now I've got another one for you. This one will be slightly different. This will be more of a workflow. Let's jump into Photoshop and Flash. Hi, here I am inside Adobe Flash, and then this time I'm going to show you how you can edit images from Flash with Photoshop. Now this is not a video about Flash, but it's just about Photoshop and how we can use it with Flash in conjunction together. Right, so I'm here in Flash. I've got a couple of buttons here, these images. Let's say I want to edit one of the images, maybe change something. One of the features within Flash is that when you import images into Flash, they become a part of your FLA file, so you don't have access to graphics on your hard drive. This file is saved on my desktop. If I just show you my desktop, okay, there's this FLA file, and there are no images here. So I don't have access to these images within Flash. So if I want to edit one of the images, let's say maybe the last one, Pierre, or let's say Il Piatto, this one here. Okay, this is actually a symbol, a graphic. Okay, so what I can do is I can right click on it. You can see edit with, it's grayed out, so it's not a graphic, it's a symbol, right? So what I can do is I can double click on it to edit it within Flash, then select it here, look in the properties panel. This is a movie clip, so I will double click on it again, and then highlight this graphic here, and this is a bitmap. Okay, right. Now I can click on the edit button, and this will open this graphic within Photoshop. So it's launched in Photoshop, and in just a moment it's going to open it, this graphic here. And if I want to make some changes, for example, I could use hue and saturation, so the image adjustments, hue saturation, to shift the colors, and I will just use the hue slider, and I'll make that, let's say, this color here. I'll just press OK. I'll close the file. It's a PNG file. Click yes to save it, and I'll minimize Photoshop to go back to Flash. And notice how this graphic has changed. If I just go back to scene 1, you'll see how the graphic has changed here in Flash. So you can quickly and easily edit graphics from Flash into Photoshop. But let me show you another technique which will apply to Flash CS5 only. Because Flash CS5 now has a new file format called Flash CS5 Uncompressed Document, which gives graphic designers access to the images from the library. I'm going to save it, File, Save As, and instead of the usual Flash CS5 document, I'll choose Flash CS5 Uncompressed Document. I'm also going to give it a different name, so I'll do, let's say, I'll just call it Uncompressed. I'm still saving it on the desktop. I'll just save it. Okay, I'll jump into the desktop. Here's the folder that's been created, and if I open it, there's the uncompressed file here, right? There's a number of folders in here, and there's a folder called library. If I look on here, these are all the elements from my library. For example, imported image assets with some thumbnails here. Okay, let's see Il Piatto. Okay, and the other images here. There's a sound, right? Okay, in here. There's a couple of folders here as well. So bitmaps, there's nothing in here. So you can quickly access the content from within the XML file. Just bear in mind that this applies to CS5 only. So if you use CS4 on earlier, the way to work is you go to your library, find the element you want to edit. So I'm going to do it once again on Gabel and Loeffel. You can double click on it, and here double click on it again. Once it's selected, go to Properties panel and click on the Edit button. This will open it with Photoshop as default. And then you change it here, Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation. You just shift the hue, say, press OK, close it, save it, and you're back in Flash with changed graphic, or with updated graphic from Photoshop. So Flash, Photoshop, and back to Flash. As simple as that. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Welcome back. This was the Flash and Photoshop tutorial on workflow from Flash into Photoshop. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Marek Mularczyk, your host, and this is PhotoshopLightroomTV, a weekly video podcast for anything Photoshop, Lightroom, and photography related. And this, I'm afraid, is all for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for stopping by and watching it. And I am going to see you next week of another episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.